Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Avenger ABF40. And just to let you know, I'm also, on my next video, I believe, we'll be doing this OKUMA Avenger ABF65. It's going to be interesting to see how much they differ. I know in size-wise, they're quite different. But I want to see internally if there's any difference or if they're just larger versions of the same exact reel. So we'll get to that one next, but for now, we're going to do this one. And we're going to start off by taking off the spool. And we're going to pull off the clicker and the shim right there. Set those over to the side, because what we're going to have to do on this one, we got to take the rotor off, because if you look, the side plate here goes up underneath the rotor. So the rotor has to come off before the side plate can come on. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, it's going to be a real bear. Well, not if this is just a screw through handle, which I believe it is, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. Let's take off the screw through handle like so. Here we go. And let's go ahead and put a little oil on the spinner handle, the knob. There's no way to get the oil in through the top, so you have to put it in at the bottom here and kind of turn it upside down and spin it a little to get that oil to work in there. Okay, and then we're going to put a little oil up here on the hub where this all slides, like so. And that should do it for the handle. Next, we're going to remove this screw right here. And we're going to blow this up just a little bit. Hopefully I'll keep things in perspective. If you look, this goes deeper than a deep well socket. See that? It goes all the way through. So what you can do is you can find a socket that does fit it. Like so. And on this one here, it happens to be a 12 millimeter. And then you can just grab hold of the socket and use it. Okay, and this is going to be reverse threaded, so it's going to come off in a clockwise direction. Okay. That takes a nut off. And there's no locking plate in here, so this is just going to be straight up taking off the rotor. All right, there's no anti-reverse assembly up inside here that you have to worry about. So this is pretty complete. Now the side plate can be removed because we've got the rotor off. All right, all four of these side plate screws are identical. So we'll set those over to the side. And now we've got to get this off. This is our switch for our bait runner. Okay, and what we've got to do is we're going to take out this screw, and then we have to lift this up off of that post without breaking it. Okay, and I have found the easiest way to do that on these is kind of putting a screwdriver under it. Watch it, I believe there's a washer in that. And just kind of lift it up and out like that. Oh, there goes that. Now it's not really a washer, it's actually a bushing. Okay, and that bushing goes down. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm gonna lay it down here and we'll zoom in on it. Okay, see how that bushing is made? Okay, And that side of it has got to go down into this handle right here. And see, it's keyed. See the keyway? Well, that's what this has to fit into, is that keyway. Now with those out, I believe that this side plate will come off. Unless there's a screw up under here. I don't believe that there is. There we go. Side plate off. Now, it wasn't long ago that this reel was serviced, so, but I told Chris Jenkins that I would do this reel because he wanted me to. Even though it has just recently been serviced, I did not do a video on it when I did it. Now, this has got a gasket inside it to help protect it from salt water. Okay, so try not to distort or mess that up. See the little holes here? Yeah, see how they fit in? And you have to be very careful putting that back in to make sure that you've got that gasket all aligned with all the proper holes. Matter of fact, it looks like last time it went down, this did not happen in this back section right here. But be careful you don't tear it. There. Okay. But this is all clean, so I'm not going to have to spend any time cleaning it and getting it ready. Okay, now, if you look, we've got our this is our lever for our bait runner right here. And we don't want to get this all jacked up. So we're going to leave it right where it's at for the moment. Okay. All right. So basically we don't want to jack this thing up. Okay. So we're going to leave this over here out of the way for now. And we're going to lift out. Well, let's go ahead and rotate this around to bring up the mount for the crosswind block. Okay, there we go. All right, so the crosswind block is held in by a clip over on this side. If you look very carefully, you can see it down in here, and it is not an easy one to get out. Matter of fact, this is one of the most difficult ones I've ever encountered. Because you've got to get in behind it, pull it. There's a little shoulder right here. You've got to get this clip to come back this way, past that shoulder, like that, and then come out. Okay, get it to pop down, out, and then you can take that double C clip out. I hate that thing. That is not any kind of design I would have ever put in. Okay, with that done, you can pull the axle shaft out. With the axle shaft out, you should now be able to grab hold of your main gear and pull it up and out. Except it's holding somehow. It's not coming out of the bearing on the other side. There we go. The bearing, this bearing right here on the other side was snagging. Okay, I'm going to take all these pieces out and clean them up. There's our crosswind block, which look, it fits down underneath this assembly. Okay, and then there's our crosswind gear, and it comes up out of there. Like so. All right, next we're going to take out the anti-reverse assembly. First off, let's see. I believe we've got, yep, we've got a set of shim washers on the front. Which looks so much like side shim washers, it's not even funny. So let's not get those confused. We'll leave them over here to the side. And let's go ahead and take out these anti-reverse bearing. All right, now the first thing you're going to want to do is just grab hold of this and yank it out of here. And I don't know that that's such a good idea. Because first off, look right here what we got. What do we have here? We've got a little teeny tiny spring. Okay, that little teeny tiny spring is going to have to come out or off as we mess with this. Okay, so we're going to hook it with a safety pin, I hope. That's my plan anyway. Go. Now it's unhooked. That allows all this to slide forward. Now with that over there, we should be able to grab hold of this entire assembly, pin and all. Now look, there's another part you got to pay attention to. Okay, this lever here, when we put this back, has got to fit back inside this triangle. Okay, and do not do what I just did and rotate this with this cover off, because it will shoot this spring out. Okay, so we're going to put the spring back in. Like so. With the cover in, that spring will be held in place. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we've got it installed. All right. Now this entire assembly, we want to take it out all as one. The whole thing. Okay, there you go. Come out with an empty housing. This is all of it together. And this also allows you to see what it's supposed to look like when it's all put back together properly. All right, so now we're going to back out a little bit. Give ourselves a little bit of room. We're going to start disassembling what we have here. Okay, we have this bearing retainer right here with a bearing inside it. We're going to go ahead and oil that good. Okay, on this side over, and look, we've got this clip, and this clip was held in there. Right there. Oh, now this entire assembly is trying to fall out. And we don't want that. And it did. All right. So there came all the roller bearings falling out, which we didn't want. But since somebody out there is going to pull it apart to clean it or whatever, I might as well take it all the way apart and show you how it goes back together. But that also shows you that you want to hold all that together and not pull it apart if at all possible. All right, here's our pinion gear. You want to inspect your pinion, make sure it's good. And you're going to put this sleeve back on. This is the center for your anti-reverse. Now, people will tell you This anti-reverse bearing should not be oiled. Well, I've never seen one yet that I took apart that didn't have a ton of oil and grease on it. Okay, if you get too much oil and grease on it, it can cause it to slip. But if you don't get too carried away with it, I think you'll be all right with putting a little grease on it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop all these bearings out. Well, if they don't want to fall out, I'm going to leave them in. So the ones that are not, just as I say that, another one falls out. There's the spring. And that guy's going to be real fun to get back into that little bitty hole right there. So we don't lose it. I'm going to do what I always do with these little teeny tiny springs. I'm going to put it onto the safety pin like that for safekeeping. Okay. Now, let's get back to this guy. And I really feel like that's why we always find these things greased. I really believe that when these things come out of the factory that they have grease in them, because I think that's how they got them to stay together to begin with. Okay, we're going to put a little grease into each one of the holes that needs a bearing to stay in. And then we're going to pick up the bearings one at a time and slip them back in. Now you got to be careful that you don't do what I just did there. See how I shoved it too far and it went down through the hole? Well, you don't want that. It should just slide right across the cylinder of, like, nope. I keep getting it in one side past the other. There we go. First one in. Looks like they have to go in with this outside edge first. If you try to put that side in first, it wants to dig down and go the opposite direction. Try to go through instead of into it. There we go. And this one here, he stayed in place, so we're going to put a little grease on him just to hold him there. And this one fell out after we started, so he's going to get a little grease. There we go. And one more. Okay, now we've got a bearing in every hole. And now we want this to slide back down in here like so. Like that. Okay? And if you look, it can slide one direction, but it can't go back the opposite direction. With that done, we can come back, slide this whole thing down around that collar, like so. And then before we go any further on that, let's go ahead, take a cotton swab, and clean this out inside. Okay, there's our case bearing. And we should have one for the opposite side now. Oh, it's still on the main gear. I'm going to take a moment to oil these two bearings. Nope, you can't see it. All right, we're going to want to be putting this back in now. Before we do, let's go ahead and grease the pinion gear. And we're going to slip this bearing back on, like so. And now I need to figure out what the purpose behind this clip is. It seems that it just fits on here, like so. And I'm not real sure what its purpose is, but that's where it was. And we're going to put it back there. And we're going to slide all this back in. And got to match up these post with the notches here, like so. As that slides in, make sure that this triangle is going to match up right here. It's not going in yet. There we go. Now it's in. Okay, that's all back in where it belongs. Everything is on except that tiny little spring. And I don't have any idea where this piece went to. I've never seen it before. It fell out of something. All right, it's time to put said little micro spring back on. And somehow I've got the seat big enough to put this on. Okay. I don't know if you can see, but I've got to hook this spring through that little eyelet. Like so. Okay, so far so good. Tipped it, just tried to pop back out. If I can get hold of it before it comes all the way out, I might be okay. Nope, come back off. Okay, so instead of trying to hook it from the bottom, we're going to hook it from the top. Okay, and then we'll stretch it back out. And put it back onto the post like so. Okay, now as we flip this lever, remember to hold that spring if you're going to flip the lever. Okay, there's anti-reverse active. And there's anti-reverse disable. Well, Chris, you ought to like that. It has an anti-reverse disable. Okay, I'm going to pause here, download this video, and take a look at it and see if I can see where this piece could have fallen out from, because I've never seen it before. All right, it took me a few minutes, but I figured it out. This part that I was missing, or had found, and didn't know where it went, actually goes into the end of the gear, like so. Okay, and this piece screws down through it. And what happened is when I unscrewed it, this piece stayed in the gear, and when I pulled the gear out, the piece just fell out on the table. So at least now I know where it is, and we will continue on. Okay, we've got all this back in. We've got the anti-reverse performing as it should. Let me go ahead and wipe this out real quick. Okay, we've got that wiped out good. Now, what we want to do is also clean this up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this drag. This is our bait runner drag. We're going to loosen this up, and I believe that we can get hold of it right here and lift this. Yep. See this clip? We're able to lift that clip out like that. And then with that out, bloop, everything just falls out. Okay, now we can push this out, and that gives us the whole assembly out right there. Okay, this piece comes off. There is a very small drag washer on the front here. This has all been oiled because, to tell you the truth, you don't want this to have such a tremendous amount of drag on it, but you want it to be able to provide a little drag. I think so far as I've been using it, I've had too much drag set in it. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this back in and set that on there like so. And wow, it's just front and back drag washer. That's it. Okay, let's see how this goes in. I'm going to drop straight in, and there is a keyway right here. This is for your, see that? Moves in and out. That is for your activating and deactivating your, when it's locked in like this, I believe that your drag goes away altogether. You go to full manual drag, and when it's like this, you're using the drag that's in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and set these pieces back in here. Let's go ahead and drop this guy in with its little drag washer on the front right there. And I may need to use the axle shaft as an insertion tool, like so. And then we'll hold that in place while we pull the axle shaft back out. Okay. Then we're going to put this eared washer in, like so. And those little ears have got to fit into that slot right there and this slot over here. Okay. And then we're going to set all this back into here, like so. And it's time to put this clip back in, like so. And if it's installed properly, we should be able to tighten the drag like that, and we should be able to loosen the drag like that. Okay, well, let's go ahead and leave it loose for now. That will make it easy to insert the axle shaft. All right, now some of you may have noticed that I'm taking out the green pinwheel grease, and I'm putting in this Super Lube whitish clear grease. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I think that the pinwheel is inferior. The only reason I'm doing it is because I have found that for purposes of demonstration, this Super Lube seems to be clearer and easier for people to see around. That's the only reason. So that's why, if somebody's got a question about that, that's why I'm doing it. Not because the pin grease is inferior, because I do not believe it is. But this grease seems to be easier for people to see what's going on because it's kind of a clear base to it. All right, with the crosswind gear lubricated, we've got to put it in and we've got to slide it underneath this assembly over here. Okay, we got to get it up underneath there. Then we're going to put some more grease on the top of it, like so. Now I'm going to put some in the crosswind block. With that done, we're going to set the crosswind block back in, and it has to slide under that piece also. And if you look right now, it's not. Let me go ahead and blow this up a little bit. It's underneath the lever over here, but it's not on the post. So we've got to get it over the post and under that lever right there, like so. Okay, now we're going to lube up the main gear. All right, and we're going to put the, there's a fuzz ball. All right, we're going to put the main gear in, and we've got to get it to go around this gear, and then get it to go down and slip in to all the rest. And if it's installed, there we go. Now, if you do what I just did and rotate that, it's going to move that crosswound block, and it's going to throw everything off. So let's put it back where it belongs, okay? Like so, we'll leave this in anti-reverse off for the moment. Okay, we're going to put this bearing back into the side case, and I'm going to give it one more shot of oil. And you know what? Man, I've got a set of sealed bearings. I should put them in here. But I'm not. These bearings are brand new, so I'm not going to replace them with sealed bearings. This thing's not going to be exposed to salt water, so I'm not going to go to that effort right now. All right, with that done, we're ready to put this post back on, or this cover back on, like so. And notice that it goes over this, oh, sorry. We're going to put the bearing retainer cover back on. Notice that it's got a post here that helps align it properly. If you've got this backwards, like this, notice that the holes won't line up, okay? So you have to have it on correctly, like so. That post goes on, and then you can put these other 3 screws back in. All right, all that's in. At this point, before we forget them, let's put these 2 shims back in. They go on the front up here, like so. And we'd like to put this on, but we can't yet because we've got to put our axle shaft on. So let's go ahead and lubricate the axle shaft. I'm going to slide it in, spin it around a little bit, get the lubrication around everything. And now we've got to get the crosswound block to go in. There we go. And we've still got to hook that double C clip on right there. I don't know if you can see it very well. There we go. Right there is where the double C clip goes. And here it is. Okay, so it flits down like so. And then it's going to slide over like this. And then it's got to clip into place like that, and it'll snap into place when it goes in. With that done, we're ready to put the side cover back on. Now this clicker right here, see this little pin? That's the clicker that fits right into here, on here, and that will make that clicker right there. When your bait feeder runs, that's the clicker for it. And when your drag's being pulled out, that's the clicker for that. So watch your, and this piece here we've got to get, okay, he's in place, he's not going anywhere. Okay, that's good. All right, now align to the best of your ability the gasket under here, like so. Okay, our bearing is fighting us. It doesn't want to go on. There we go. We'll go ahead and put the bearing on first this time. And we'll align that gear just a little bit. Line the hole for this. Get everything lined up. And if it's all properly aligned, you should be able to now put your 4 screws back in. Now, if we've done this correctly, we should be able to take this piece, hook it back on this side over here, like so. Get it on, pull this up and over on this side, and then we should be able to take this sleeve with that keeper and get it to slide in, like so. And then we can put this screw back in. All right, at this point, we're ready to slip the rotor back on, like so. Slide the nut down, and remember this is reverse threaded. So it screws on in a counterclockwise direction. And I should be able to put the socket back on it. Grab a hold of the socket and tighten again. There we go. Okay. There we go. With that on, we can put the clicker cog back on. And it had 2 clear shims. One super thin and one much heavier. Go, those down, and oh, we forgot to put the screw in. This one right here. Using the old grease trick to hold the screw in on the screwdriver. Go. All right, beautiful. Okay, let's take a look at, and this thing is like brand new. So for anybody out there who doesn't have one, it's brand new. Let's go ahead and take this apart a little bit. Okay, that didn't want to come out from under, so we'll unscrew it from out here. Don't want to break it. Let's get a better screwdriver. Okay. Now we'll lift that out. Yep, see this fit up underneath it. Okay. Now you've got this lift bar right here. This is your trip bar that releases the bail and kicks it back up. Okay. There's no grease, there's no dirt or anything in this. So we're going to put just a little bit of grease here. Our put a little grease right here where this spring rides. Okay, this is the spring. All right, and it's going to go, see the large hole, or large post? Let me zoom in on this. Okay, what we've got here, we have a large post side and a small post side. We're going to use the large post side, that's this one here, and it's going to go into that hole right there. Okay, so we're going to sit this down right there. We're going to slide this one as far up as it will go, and then this one here comes down right there. Okay, put those in position. We're going to put the side cover back on. We'll put just a little bit more grease right here. And if you look, that little post right there is going to go in this little hole right here. Okay, so we'll set this back into place. And we'll align that, get it to line up there. There we go. And we'll put the screw back in so it doesn't pop out. All right, now let's go up to this end and let's take this apart. That screw doesn't want to come out, so we'll just leave it in place along with the bronze bushing, and we're going to reinstall this. Okay, now see, this post has to go into this little hole right here. All right, this post, that's the larger one, it goes into this large slot right here, and then this post right here goes into this large slot over here. So you got to get all that to line up properly, and then put it back into place. Okay, so the tall post goes in the hole first. All right, so there we go. And then it all drops down. And we can put that big screw back in. And let's zoom back out. Okay, let's bounce over to this side and see there's nothing over here. This is nothing more than an arm that goes back and forth. Okay, there's no springs or levers or anything else in this side. So we're just going to oil it. Spin it around a little bit. All right, and that's good. Then we're going to put this arm back into here, slide it around, and bring it around. With that done, we're back over here. And we're ready to put this arm back on. Okay, now let's go ahead and push out this bearing. It just pushes out. A lot of these things won't push out after they've been in for a long time. But this one is new or newer, and it just pushes right out. Okay, this is actually a roller bearing. This is not a bushing. It's a little teeny tiny roller bearing. We're going to oil it. And we're going to slip it back in with grease. I'm going to put some grease on the outside of it. And then we're going to slide it back in. Okay, and there's a washer that goes on this side. Okay, and we're going to put this back together. There's the washer. There's the bearing. There's the roller. That all goes together, slides up under here. And on this side over here, you've got a copper washer, but it's kind of bound up, and I'm not going to force it out of there. Let's go ahead and See if we can get this to go ahead and tighten down now. All right, make sure the roller turns, and it does. And we got something wrong. It doesn't trip up all the way. So let's take this part off and make, no, I didn't take anything apart over there. It has to be right here. No, that goes all the way down. Ah, it's on this side right here where I put this back in. Okay, now, all right, I had never noticed that before, but there's a right way and a wrong way to put this side in. Okay, so, see right there? See that doesn't turn? Okay, so we've got to get this in the right position. We put it in and get it to go all the way down and rotate like so, so that it will come back here. There you go. All right, now we're going to set this back into place right here. Set this back on and tighten the screw back down again. Okay, there we go. Now, it trips all the way. There we go. Anti-reverse, instant anti-reverse. Even with that grease in there, folks, look at that, it's perfect. So, don't worry too much about getting grease in those anti-reverse. I know it's supposed to be a friction fit and all that, but I don't think it seems to make that much difference. All right, now, we're going to put the handle back on. Slide it back in this side over here. You can put it in either side, whichever one you want. But now, this is where this black plastic piece, I couldn't figure out where it goes. It fits right into the end of the gear. And if you swap the handle to the other side, make sure that piece swaps around to the other side. There we go. Well, that doesn't sound nice at all. All right. All right, I'm back. I had to take a moment to do a little troubleshooting and figure out where my gear grind was coming from. What was happening is that I had a very, very pronounced gear grind when I wound the handle. I don't know if you could hear it on the video, but it was certainly there. And so what I wanted to do was see if I could go find what was causing it. And if you grabbed hold of the handle here after it was installed, you could actually push the handle in a whole lot, back and forth right here. And if I pushed in right here and wound the handle, there was no gear grind. If I pulled out on it, I had a very pronounced gear grind. So I decided that this needed to be shimmed on this side. So I went in and added in a 5/1000 shim in between the main gear and the bearing. And that took care of the gear grind. Okay, so let's proceed on. All right, with that done, it's time to move on to the drag washer servicing. And it's got a rubber cap that goes in here to seal this, helps keep the water out. We're gonna pop out this wire clip that retains the drag washers, and then we're gonna pull out the drag washers. Okay, and this is a simple set. And these were just serviced a few months ago. I'm only doing this to show you how to do it. So the setup goes that there is a bearing down in the bottom, right there. And let's go ahead and oil that bearing, like so. Then we're going to install. You know, that almost looks like there's water in there, although I know it's not water. No, it's not water, it's oil. Okay. We're gonna put, these are soaking wet. Normally what I will do is I will put these in, oil them good, and then proceed on. But these have already been oiled. They're good to go. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put in first, there are two of these keyed washers. One is really thick and one is really thin. Okay, the really thin one is the one that's gonna go in first on top of the drag washer. Then goes the next drag washer. Next is gonna be this eared washer with the two little ears on it. Drop that into the hole. Then we've got another drag washer. Normally what I do is as I put each one of these in, I oil them, but these don't need it, so I'm not gonna do it. And then goes in the heavy duty drag washer at the top. We're gonna put this clip back in so that one end of it is over by the hole. Okay, to make it easier to get out when we want to take it out next. And this end there is just a little too far down. There we go, like so. Now everything's lined up, and let's pull this around a little bit. There we go. And then the rubber seal goes back in the hole, like so. Hang on a second. Okay, we have two sets of rings in here. One is for the washer and one is for the ring. So get that down like that, and then we're going to install the washer. Make sure that this goes all the way down. And then put this one in, and its bottom lip goes into that ring inside to seal it up, like so. All right. With that done, drop it back into place. Spin it around a little bit until it drops all the way down. Tighten down the drag. So now we've serviced two sets of drags on here. Okay, we got our main drag. Now we flip the bait runner mode. Okay, this should turn pretty easy. Matter of fact, it's real easy because we don't have hardly any drag established. Okay, we can turn it up a little bit. Turn it up some more. Okay, now we're creating some resistance so that fish would have to fight to pull that line out a little bit. Okay, then, but it's still pretty loose. As we crank this, boom, bait runner kicks off. Now we can adjust the drag up here to where it's nice and tight. But now if you kick the bait runner back on, it's nice and loose again. Okay, there we go. Chris, I hope you're satisfied with the Avenger ABF40. Like I said, I had already serviced this once. I took it out on the lake, and it's a little bit big. I mean, it handles redfish beautifully, but it's just a little bit big. It needs a bigger rod to be on, and the 7-foot poles I'm using just don't balance very well with this reel, so I pulled it off, and I'm planning to use it more at the coast than anything else. I've got a really, really nice 11-foot rod down there that I'm tempted to put out there. So I'm maybe, just maybe. In the meantime, if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. Tell me what it is you didn't like. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.